Chicano folk singer is dead after she was attacked by a pair of coyotes.
What is the monkey doing? Tell me what the monkey...
He hit your face off!
We actually have a trainer in the water with one of our whales.
If I show weakness, if I retreat, I may be hurt, I may be killed.
Baby Azaria Chamberlain was taken by a dingo back in 1980.
Hello and welcome back to Man Eaters, the only true crime podcast on the internet where all the killers are real animals, whether it's biting, scratchings, maulings, or clawings. We're here to talk about it. It is my privilege to welcome you all to the final episode of 2024, a very special episode. Welcome to the first annual Man-Eater Awards, affectionately known as the Chompies. That's right. If you're in movies, you try to get the Oscar. If you're in television, you try to get the Emmy. If you're a theater kid, you're going for that Tony or you're going for that Olivier Award. But today, if you are part of the Man-Eaters community, or if you're a person who has been attacked by an animal, or you're a dickhead who has attacked an animal, you may be in the running for a Chompy Award, the most prestigious award an animal can receive from this weird guy with a podcast. It is the time of the year where we look back at all the crazy stories and the crazy things that have happened throughout 2024, and we give out some awards. It's the first time we're doing this, but I'm very excited, and if all goes well, this will become a yearly occurrence. And yeah, like I mentioned in the intro, it is the last episode of 2024. Was trying to fit in a couple extra episodes in this holiday season, but you know what? I've decided I need a little bit of a break, so I am going to call it. I'm recording this the day before Christmas Eve, and I'm going to take about a week and a half off, and then I'll be back in 2025. It does mean we're slightly shy of 80 episodes this year. Or 40, was it 40 episodes? I don't know. The number of episodes we usually do in a year, slightly off, but you know what? I don't mind. I think you don't mind. We're not here to hit quotas, guys. We're here to have a damn good time. And speaking of a damn good time, let's give out some awards. Now, let me preface this. I've come up with 9 categories for awards, and they're not necessarily meant to glorify a terrible thing that's happened. Or let me give you an example. If I was to award a Chompy, to a person who was involved in a pretty serious animal attack, I'm not trying to make light of their situation, or I'm not trying to glorify the violence or the brutality of what happened to them. What I'm trying to do here is shine a light on the people who have such indomitable spirit that an animal attack couldn't keep them down. Or I'm trying to shine a light on an entertaining story where no one really got too badly hurt. That's what I'm trying to do here. So this episode doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be hearing the most brutal, destructive shark and tiger attacks, but it will be the stories that kind of touched our hearts the most this year. And so with that, little bit of a disclaimer gone, let's get into our first award. Our first award today is for the best shark story of the year. And the nominees are the New Zealand 7-gilled shark attack, Kai Mackenzie, Tomeo Perry, Navy rescues woman after shark attack. And the Chompy goes to Kai Mackenzie. A round of applause, everybody. Thank you so much. Kai Mackenzie, of course, the Australian man who was attacked by a shark earlier this year and lost his leg. A true courageous person. He vowed to return to the water very quickly after losing his leg, and quite recently he did do so. I'm going to read you a story now about what's happened with Kai. The headline reads, Shark attack survivor Kai Mackenzie surfs for the first time on one leg. Australian surfer Kai Mackenzie has returned to the waves for the first time after a shark attack claimed his right leg, amazing onlookers with his bravery and skill while surfing on one foot. A surfer who lost his right leg in a shark attack months ago has stunned onlookers by returning to the waves and surfing on his one remaining leg. In a show of remarkable courage, Bonny Hills surfer Kai Mackenzie paddled out to the same spot where he'd been attacked by a 4.5 metre great white shark 4 months earlier. The 23-year-old had promised to get back into surfing as soon as he was able to following the attack. Mackenzie took off his artificial limb and got back to riding the waves and practicing some new moves. The defiant sponsored surfer paddled out to the spot with laser focus, catching several waves and jumping on his board with one leg and occasionally steering it with one hand when it veered off course. He was buoyed by the support of his parents, his uncle, and his friends, and Mackenzie appeared at ease in the water despite admitting he was a bit nervous because the water looked exactly like it did that day. He later posted on social media of his return to the ocean and called it probably one of the craziest feelings I've had. First time back in the water last week, I paddled back out to where I got bit, he wrote. I sat out there by myself and took it in for a little bit, and then a bunch of my favorite people had a surf with me. You ain't never gonna take me away from the ocean. 6 weeks ago, Mackenzie was fitted with a prosthetic above the knee, and it is said to be working on getting a surf-specific one. He has remained a largely upbeat person since his discharge from John Hunter Hospital in Newcastle, where he spent more than 1 month after the attack at North Shore Beach, just north of Port Macquarie, on July 23, 2024. After the initial shock, he kept his spirits uplifted by his mission to return to the water before the end of the year. Byron Bay adapted surfing champion Mark Mono Stewart, 62 years old, praised Kai's brave return to the ocean, saying, "That fear of the shark would have been behind him as he was paddling out and always will remain. Getting back out there is extremely courageous. He's definitely a determined young man," he said. Kai has had an above-the-knee amputation, just like me, and it's hard to surf with one leg at first because you're balanced, and when you go wipe out, you've only got one leg to swim back up. Mr. Stewart, who lost his right leg to cancer when he was 15 years old and who won his 6th Association of Adaptive Surfing Professionals World title 2 months ago, said, "Kai will never be a full radical, but he's young and he'll adapt fast. There are boards that are brilliant and he'll be able to take part in the Paralympics by kneeling or standing. He's taken his first step and his biggest step by getting out there. It can only get better from here," he said. Back in 2003, Hawaiian surfer Bethany Hamilton showed the same kind of bravery in getting back in the water 1 month after she lost her arm in a shark attack at the age of 13. 2 years later, she went on to win her first national title against able-bodied surfers, putting extra grit and determination into achieving her goals. So can we get one more big round of applause for Kai Mackenzie, who has returned to the water despite the fear of sharks still being out there. This story speaks to me quite deeply because it's a little bit of a local one for me. Kai spent time in John Hunter Hospital, which is a 5-minute drive from my house, and I've worked at the John Hunter Hospital quite recently, actually, as a simulated medical patient student. And yeah, Kai's from nearby, and the I think it was Port Macquarie where he got attacked. That's not far from where I am as well. So good on you, Kai. A fantastic shark attack story to round off the end of the year. One of the best shark attack stories ever. And of course, the focus on this story isn't really the shark or the attack. It's the grit and determination that Kai showed getting back in the water after such a harrowing ordeal. It would be interesting to see what happens to Kai in the future. That person mentioned potentially him competing in the Paralympics. We'd all love to see that. And yeah, Kai, if you're listening, I don't know if you know the show, but if you are listening, good on you, mate. And yeah, well done. Keep at it. All right. Our next award, similar to the shark attack story, this next story is for the best big cat story of the year. And the nominees for best big cat story are: first US mountain lion fatality in years, Romanian zookeeper killed by tiger, Indian leopards, and the Chompy goes to Indian leopards. This is a joint award, not one specific story here. It is a group story. Throughout 2024, we have noticed a significant rise in the rates of deadly leopard attacks in India. And today, the award goes to the Indian leopards for a number of stories that we heard throughout the year, but also this story that I'm going to read you now about how can India stop these deadly leopard attacks. So, leopard attacks have risen in India recently as agricultural and residential areas encroach upon the animal's habitat. Conservationists say understanding the animal's behavior is key to coexistence. Earlier this month, a 7-year-old boy from a family of migrant labourers was killed by a leopard when he left the house in Pune in India's western Maharashtra state. It was the 8th leopard-related death in Maharashtra Junar forest since the division since March. In the hill state of Uttarakhand, 9 people have died in leopard attacks this year, including a 17-year-old male who was killed while returning home from cricket. The fear of leopard attacks has led to school closures in affected villages. Northern Rajasthan, I think that's how you pronounce that, particularly in the Udaipur and Rajahmund districts, recorded 10 deaths as a result of leopard attacks. And in southern Karnataka state, leopards in several districts have been attacking dogs. The attacks in regions across India correspond with a rise in the country's leopard population. According to the estimates from the Ministry of Forests and Environment, India's leopard population numbers now around 13,800. Over the years, urbanization and agricultural expansion in India have squeezed the leopard's natural habitat. Leopards are forced to adapt by seeking food sources closer to human settlements, often preying on livestock or even attacking humans when opportunities arise. A noteworthy example is the ongoing urban development in the Aravalli Hills in Delhi and adjoining Gurgaon. This encroachment is forcing leopards to venture into nearby villages in search of food and territory, leading to more frequent encounters with humans. Quote, "This is a recipe for enhanced human-carnivore conflict. This conflict affects the poorest sections of our society due to their lifestyles involving poor housing and dependence on the forest's resources for livelihood." To reduce human-leopard conflict, one strategy is to reduce the dependency of communities on forest resources. The second strategy would be to limit the growth and distribution of these conflict-prone large carnivores by using humane population management strategies. Wildlife experts and conservationists point out that big cat attacks on humans are the result of clustering human behavior patterns, bringing people in regular contact with a leopard's territory. Ravi Shellam, a wildlife biologist, said given the size and diversity of India, the causes for these conflicts vary quite significantly across the country, and regionally tailored solutions are needed. Quote, "We should never forget that coexistence with wildlife is common and widespread in India among rural communities." Shellam added that a nuanced understanding of each situation is required, and this is possible only when forest staff work in close collaboration with local leaders. In certain cases, leopards will need to be captured, and it is the best that these captured leopards are not released, especially if the release sites are far from the place of capture. Vidya Arthya, a wildlife biologist with extensive experience in minimizing human-leopard conflicts, said it is important to understand leopard behavior to allow coexistence between humans and leopards. In Mumbai, where urban sprawl spread to the areas bordering Sanjay Gandhi National Park, stakeholders like environmental organizations and conservationists launched a sensationalist program to educate citizens on precautionary measures to reduce human-leopard interactions. Consequently, the number of incidents of human-leopard conflicts in Mumbai dropped sharply. Under the right circumstances, humans and leopards can coexist in India's urban landscape. While the short-term solution of transferring a problem animal to a distant wildlife park might seem like a solution, it is not. The long-term solution requires education in waste management, basic do's and don'ts in areas near wildlife, and proper town planning. The conflict is not just about the leopard and the people who live next door to wildlife areas. It is a mindset that needs to change. We give almost all priority to one animal and miss the entire forest and the other creatures. So that is a story about what people could do next year to drop the rate of deadly leopard attacks in India. It is a phenomenon that we have noticed on the show. Obviously, each week I scour the internet for animal attack stories, and pretty much every single week, one that pops up is a leopard has attacked a woman, usually a woman or a child, in India. It happens so frequently that it's not something I talk about on the show very much anymore, because to be completely honest, it's very repetitive. It's the same story over and over and over again. The only difference is being it's obviously a different leopard, a different victim, and it's in a different area of India. But the key highlight points of the story are often quite similar. So the award is going to the leopards in India just because of the rate at which they're happening. Now, hopefully, Indian authorities can take some steps to hopefully reduce that number of attacks next year, but it is something we'll have to keep our eye on, unfortunately. And our thoughts go out to our Indian brothers and sisters out there. And we also just always have to remember, not everybody lives in a city. Some people live with animals and leopards and tigers and stuff in their backyard. So it is a strange way to live, but I'm sure these people, really like living where they live. So telling them to move is not a good answer. All right, are you ready for our next award? This next Chompy Award goes to the Best Bear Story. And the nominees are US Woman Scalped in Bear Attack, Bears Framed for Murder, Man Jumps on Polar Bear's Back, Boy Kills Bear Mauling His Father. And the Chompy goes to Bears Framed for Murder. That's right, folks. This year saw an alarming trend of people trying to stage crimes and make them look like bear attacks. There was a murder that was actually tried to make look like it was a bear attack, but there was also a case of insurance fraud. So we're going to talk a little bit about the weird trend of people staging crimes and trying to make them look like bear attacks. The headline here reads, "Trying to get away with murder by staging it as a bear attack is a really bad idea." A number of recent human-on-human crimes, including murder, have attempted to be covered up by blaming them on bear attacks, but law enforcement and wildlife officials say it's a really bad strategy. A brutal and grisly murder in Big Sky, Montana last month was initially reported as a grizzly bear attack. A man was found dead at his camping site, seemingly mauled to death. The gruesome scene a pair of witnesses stumbled upon led them to report it as a bear attack, but it wasn't. Darren Christopher Abbey confessed earlier this month to killing the camper with a screwdriver and an axe. Dustin Kersham had been camping in Custer Galatian National Forest in mid-October when his deceased body was found in a tent. Given the multiple bloody wounds to his body, the friends that discovered him thought it was the work of a grizzly bear, though investigators later discovered the cause was from multiple chop wounds inflicted from a screwdriver and an axe. In Tennessee, 45-year-old Nicholas Wayne Hamlet was arrested on November 10th for murder after allegedly killing a man and stealing his identity while staging the death as a bear attack. Hamlet called 911 pretending to be a distressed hiker named Brandon Andrail, who he had claimed had been attacked by a bear and fallen off a cliff in the Tennessee mountains, according to a report from the U.S. State Marshals. Andrade was later determined to have died from blunt force trauma to the head. The phenomenon of blaming one of nature's apex predators for homicide intent isn't a new excuse, but it's an alleged motive forensics and wildlife experts say they have a little problem disproving. Despite a handful of grizzly bear-inspired murders and crimes in other states, Wyoming law enforcement officials say they aren't fooled by man's attempt to frame the innocent Bruins. Taking the grizzly-inspired crimes one step further, 4 Los Angeles residents were arrested on suspicion of insurance fraud and conspiracy in excess of $141,000 for allegedly dressing in a bear suit and damaging luxury vehicles to collect the insurance money, according to a statement from the California Department of Insurance. After watching surveillance video of the alleged bear assaults on the vehicles, the culprits had turned into their insurance companies. A biologist from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife declared it to clearly be a human in a bear suit. The teeth and claw marks of a bear are distinct and hard to mimic, says Dave Wolfskill, a retired Laramie and Crook County Sheriff Department and rancher living in the Hulett area. He's personally seen the puncture scars on the face of a man in his area who survived a grizzly bear attack and said they are nothing like chopping wounds. Quote, "The punctures from teeth and claw marks are nothing similar to being hit with an axe," he said. Short of a hay hook used on square bales, he can't think of any implement that might replicate a bear attack, though he said the teeth would be incredibly difficult to mimic. Mike Frolander, a longtime EMT and Crook County coroner who has held the position for over 3 decades, agrees. He's never personally responded to bear attacks or any staged murder scene, but said it would be easily discernible based on DNA evidence alone. Anytime there is contact between two things, there is transfer of evidence, Frolander said. Sometimes it is obviously hard to see. I would like to think there would have been evidence of animals there, no different than a human. DNA testing would likely show it, Frolander said. Lieutenant Russ Rothschild of the Jackson Police Department also said that attempting to stage a grisly attack would be statistically difficult to pull off in the age of DNA and advanced homicide investigation tools. A lot of people fabricate, minimize, obfuscate, and embellish their versions of events to favor themselves, he said. That happens in almost every criminal investigation. Over in Bighorn County, where one might expect to see a big bear framed, no such instances have ever actually occurred, according to Bighorn County Sheriff Ken Blackburn. Though many people have attempted to forensically manipulate crime scenes throughout his career, he's never had a grisly impersonation. Typically, it's arson or burning vehicles or other similar crime scenes that are easily determined through crime scene investigation. In his mind, the biggest story, apart from staged grisly attacks, is cash-strapped departments like his, who often have to shell out thousands of dollars to third-party forensic labs due to staff shortages and backlogs at the Wyoming Department of Criminal Investigations lab. To that end, his department just shelled out nearly $10,000, he said, to verify a paint chip in a recent ATM burglary case due to a backlog at the lab in light of a pending court date. It's natural for criminals to try to disguise a crime, and it's really important that we have proper tools and be able to investigate that crime, he said. And even more important that we support forensic efforts to bring these people to justice and bring closure to the families of the victims. As far as impersonating grizzly bear attacks, Blackburn said he feels such attempts would easily be foiled based on evidence. I think the mechanisms of injuries would be so blessedly obvious, he said. So this award goes out to all the idiots trying to frame bears for murder. And I guess if you're sitting there planning your next murder and you're thinking a bear attack might be the way to go, probably not. But that guy did say using one of those little claw things for a hay bale, that might work. Don't think that was his intention to try to help a murderer, but hey, there you go. There we go. That is our third ever Chompy Award. All right, we're moving on. Our next Chompy Award is one close to my heart. It's the Patreon Pal of the Year. This award goes to someone on our Patreon who has been a badass supporter of the show. As you know, this is not my full-time job. I work in other areas. But one day this would be a great job for me to have. I'd love that. And the following people are the people who are helping me get closer to that dream. Of course, these are all people who have subscribed to our Patreon and have continued to support the show throughout the year or even throughout the years, as some of these people have. So here are our nominees for Patreon Pal of the Year. And the nominees are Dawn, Jack, Lexi, and Lizzie. A round of applause for all of our nominees. The Patreon Pal of the Year award this year goes to Dawn. Dawn has been a member of the Patreon since I first launched it years ago. She has been an avid supporter of the show, and I would like to send her my heartfelt thanks. She is a kick-ass, beast of the broadcast, a pal of the program, as are the other nominees, and as are everyone else over on the Patreon who has supported the show. And if you would like to support Maneaters, please head to patreon.com/maneaters and become a member. And hey, who knows, maybe in 2025 I will be calling you the Patreon Pal of the Year. All right. Let's move on to our next award. This Chompy goes to the Heartbreaker of the Year. This is the Heartbreaker Award. This award is honoring the most heartbreaking stories of the year. So obviously on a show like ours, we have a lot of entertaining stories that come through, like people being framed for bear murder. But we also have a lot of heartbreaking stories that really do leave a mark on me. And each one of these nominees left a mark on me in one way or the other. So these are the nominees for the Heartbreaker Award. The nominees are Austin Riley and Waylon the Warthog, Giraffe Death in Zoo, Ukrainian Zoo Burns Down, Disabled Boy Fed to Crocodiles, Peanut the Squirrel, And the heartbreaking award goes to Austin Riley and Waylon the Warthog. This is a story that we covered about 6 months ago about a Texas man's near-death encounter with his own pet warthog. And it raised a lot of questions about treating wild animals as pets. He raised a warthog since its birth, essentially, named Waylon. And he described Waylon as his best friend. They did everything together. It was like, Waylon was more like a dog, really, than a warthog. He would follow him around, he would follow Austin around, he would do chores with him, and then one day in 2022, the warthog just turned on him. It ripped his legs apart with its tusks, and unfortunately, Waylon was fatally shot by a neighbor to survive, and Austin survived that attack. So we're going to read a report on what happened with him, really briefly, because we did cover this whole story before. Austin Riley raised his warthog Waylon Jennings from birth, but one day the animal turned on him. A Texas man nearly lost his life when his pet warthog attacked him. Austin Riley, 32 years old, raised his warthog from birth. He named his warthog Waylon Jennings after the country music performer. One fateful day, Waylon the warthog turned on him. The animal had stabbed Riley at least 15 times before a neighbor fatally shot it. Riley survived the attack, which he looked at as an ultimate betrayal from an animal that he had considered part of his family. For years, that animal trusted me every day and I trusted him, Riley told the Texas Monthly. I put blood, sweat, and tears into his life, and he decided to kill me. Greg Parra says that he feels for Riley as he too has an incredibly close bond with his own warthog named Wallace. He's like a dog. He sleeps on the couch, he chews a bone, and he follows me everywhere. He's very playful with me. He will nudge me and play with me. But Parra says he has also been injured by his own warthog. He hit me with his head, and then I felt something on my ankle, and I looked down and I was bleeding. I had about an 8-inch gash in my knee. I never felt it. Parra says warthog attacks can be brutal because of their razor-sharp tusks. They have 2 tusks on both sides of their face. The top tusk is round, but their bottom tusk can be razor-sharp. I don't think Riley did anything. The pig loved him, and he used to spend, like I do, laying down on the ground with him for 6 hours at a time. Parra tells the Inside Edition. Parra says getting a warthog as a pet is really not worth the risk. I won't read too much more about it. You can find the episode in the past where I talked about Austin and his warthog Waylon. But it was quite a sad story. Unlike a lot of animal attacks where the victim is like, "Oh, I don't blame him. It's not his fault. I still love him." Austin really did take this as a betrayal from a pet, and he was devastated when the warthog attacked him. He was very badly injured, and he was genuinely lucky to survive. He's lucky that neighbor did come around with a rifle and shoot Waylon, but overall very sad. And I remember being very affected when I read this story first, because I also love animals, and I believe to have an affinity with certain animals. And it's one thing we can never forget is that even if you are a person who thinks that you have an affinity to animals and that animals like you, they are still wild animals, and at any point they can turn around and kill you. And it's not just people keeping, exotic or wild animals as pets. Even your domestic dog who has never bitten you once in your life, 15 years in, could one day turn around and try to get you. You need to love your animals, you need to trust them, but you also need to realize they are animals and they can turn around and kill you. And also, hey, it's not just animals. People you trust can betray you all the time. Talk about a heartbreaking conclusion to that story. People also can let you down. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to say about that. All right, we're moving on now. We have 4 more awards to give out. This next one, a little bit more lighthearted than our Heartbreaker award. This award goes to the Meme of the Year. We have 3 nominees this year for Meme of the Year, and those nominees are Moo Dang, Pesto, Peanut the Squirrel, and the Chompy goes to Moo Dang, the pygmy hippopotamus. As you all know by this point, Mu Deng is a pygmy hippopotamus that was born in Thailand, and she became an internet meme at 2 years of age when images of her went viral online in September of 2024. She became popular after these images were on the zoo's official Facebook page and later went viral. Mu Deng had become the subject of many different pieces of art, and due to Mu Deng's viral online popularity, the number of daily visitors to the zoo doubled in early September. At around the same time, visitors have harassed the baby by splashing her with water or throwing objects at her to wake her up. As a result, the Chow Open Zoo installed security cameras around her enclosure. The zoo director also threatened legal action against any visitors who harassed her. On September 28th, Mu Deng was the subject of a Saturday Night Live sketch. She was parodied by Bowen Yang on Weekend Update, and the character was used to satirize American pop artist Chappell Roan's commentary on fame and political endorsements. In November of 2024, the zoo posted a video of Mu Deng choosing between two carved fruit dishes featuring the names of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris in what the zoo said was a prediction on who would win the 2024 United States election. Mu Deng correctly selected the fruit engraved with Trump's name, a prediction that ultimately came true. That same month, Grammy released the official Mu Deng theme song composed by Muinfet Amara titled Mu Deng in Thai, English, Chinese, and Japanese. In December of 2024, Google published a year in review themed Google Doodle video about the most searched topics of the year, with which Mu Deng featured in it. There we go. Well, there you go. It was a tight race. Pesto, the baby penguin, came close too, a big tubby penguin from Melbourne Aquarium, I believe. Also Peanut the squirrel, which was a much later story this year. But ultimately, Mu Deng reigns supreme. And in this podcast, we all stan Mu Deng. Okay. Turning from lighthearted fun to not lighthearted fun, the opposite of lighthearted fun, we have to talk about our asshole of the annum. This is the award for the biggest piece of shit this year, a morally reprehensible piece of human garbage. This award nominee list includes people who have committed animal abuse, bestiality, or animal cruelty. And the nominees for asshole of the annum are Enoch Broadnax, the South Australian House of Horrors, an Iowan man burning his house down with 2 dogs inside, a drunk kicking a Yellowstone bison, and a moronic exotic animal owner. And the Chompy goes to Enoch Broadnax. No one clap, please. No one clap. This person is not a good guy. Enoch Broadnax was a big dickhead, let's just call him that, a big, sloppy, dumb dickhead who was arrested in Harnett County for animal cruelty after allegedly kicking and stomping on a dog. Police responded to a call of animal abuse at a residence in Dunn and found Enoch Broadnax, a 28-year-old male. According to warrants, Broadnax kicked and stomped a dog in the head and face, causing bruising, bleeding, and trauma. He was arrested and charged with felony cruelty to animals. Police seized 6 dogs, and a veterinarian treated the injured dog, who is recovering. He received a $10,000 bond and appeared in court. That is not the update, though. We do have a slightly more uplifting end to the story. Donations have been sought to help the abused dogs get surgery. This story is from Dunn. Dunn's animal control shelter is seeking donations from the public to help 2 dogs seized in an animal cruelty case get the surgery that they need. The canines, named Contra and Duke, are both American bully breeds and were seized from a home on West Cole Street after a vigilant neighbor showed police a video of their owner kicking and stomping on Contra's head on February 29th. Contra is a blue and white female and is having respiratory difficulties due to restricted breathing passages, which can be properly repaired with surgery, said Dunn Animal Control Director Courtney Hayter. Contra can only spend about 5 to 10 minutes outdoors due to her restricted nasal passages. Once she recovers from her surgery, set for the last week in July, Contra will be eligible for adoption. Duke, a fawn tricolor male, is experiencing problems with passing out when he gets too hot or excited because he is not getting enough oxygen. Duke has experienced 2 seizures as a result of this condition and is currently being fostered to closely monitor his health. He cannot be outside for any longer than 5 to 10 minutes due to his condition. Duke's surgery is scheduled for July and will be performed by Dr. Brittany McLam at Dunn Animal Hospital. The focus of the surgery is to provide both of these animals with a better quality of life. Estimated surgical cost for the dog is between $3,000 and $4,000. Anyone wishing to donate to the animal shelter can do so. Duke and Contra were 2 of 6 American bully dogs seized from the home of 28-year-old Enoch Jace Nathaniel Broadnax, I'm not going to read the address, who was charged with 3 counts of animal cruelty. He pleaded guilty to one of the counts in Harnett County Superior Court in a plea deal that dropped the other charges on June 27th. Judge Paul A. Halcombe III sentenced Broadnax to serve 2 years supervised probation, perform 72 hours of community service, and pay restitution of $6,322.76. Broadnax was ordered to obtain a mental health assessment and follow any recommended counseling or treatment. He was also ordered to never own, possess, or care for a dog or cat during his probation period of conditions of discharge under the probation. So that is our asshole of the animum, an absolute piece of shit. I will say this, probably not the worst person we've talked about, but the people who rank above him in terms of like evil shit that they've done are so awful. I don't even want to pretend to give the slightest appearance that I'm actually awarding them for their behavior. Like you and me, we know, we're smart. We know that this is like a joke award and I'm awarding them for their bad behavior, but it's not really an award. It's like, this is the award for biggest piece of shit. But there are people who did such horrible things this year that I don't want to even pretend for a moment that I'm giving them daps for their behavior, okay? Because I don't want people to turn around and be like, yeah, this podcaster gave an award to the people who like sexually abused a mountain goat or something like that, okay? I don't want to do that. We're not doing that. So Enoch Broadnax is the worst of the people who I can mention on this episode, but there are people who are worse. And the other nominees can also suck my fatty. Okay, 2 awards left, and these are the 2 biggest awards of the year. The second last award we are handing out today is the Scratch of the Year. This is the most wild animal attack story that I've covered on my podcast this year. And the nominees are Silverback Standoff, Thailand Monkey Police, New Zealand Ram Rampage, Boy Kills Bear Mauling His Father, Woman Impaled by a Swordfish, and the Chompy goes to Silverback Standoff. Earlier this year, a video went viral of 2 female zoo workers who became trapped in a gorilla pen due to an accident in the, not due to an accident, due to a mistake in the locking up process of that cage. One of the women became trapped between, a gorilla basically trapped a woman between a rock and a hard place, and she needed to get out of the way of the gorilla before making her escape. Luckily, no one was hurt, but it was quite a viral story, and yeah, we covered it. I think we did a whole episode on it. It was quite a wild story. The news says, scariest video shows 2 female gorilla zookeepers trapped in gorilla cage wildly trying to break free. A terrifying encounter between 2 Texas zookeepers and a silverback gorilla is captured on camera and is becoming viral. The video captures Elmo, the gorilla, being put back into his cage at the Fort Worth Zoo when 2 female zookeepers were hard at work. Suddenly, a 34-year-old silverback gorilla chased 2 female zookeepers around his area. One jogs rapidly across the room to a door-equipped section and silently shuts the frame. With guests at the zoo watching in terror and hoping for the other zookeeper's safety, the gorilla can be seen moving into the back area following her shadow. The silverback is after her, and one of the zoo employees is seen desperately attempting to keep up with him. The staffer hides behind a door in the enclosure, and the enraged gorilla chases after him, knocking over a food bin along the way. Silverbacks, the dominant male gorillas, are at the center of the gorilla social organization. These leaders are in charge of guarding their troops or family groups and defending their area from intruding males or any other perceived threat. Sadly, when two zookeepers at the Fort Worth Zoo unintentionally became stuck in the gorilla cage with Elmo, one of the zoo's silverback lowland gorillas, they found themselves in the dreadful position of being perceived as a threat. When the event occurred in October, visitors to the Texas Zoo captured the woman's attempts to escape on camera. Women in the horrified crowd began to pray out of fear for the woman. "Oh my God," one woman can be heard saying, "God help her. May God keep her safe." Other zoo visitors breathed heavily as they joined in the prayer, asking God to intervene on behalf of the woman. In order to place animals' lunch into their outdoor habitat, zookeepers move the gorilla troop into their indoor habitat every day. But on that particular day, that did not occur. Because of a keeper error, employees did not know that the silverback was still in its natural habitat when they entered the yard. Elmo, the silverback gorilla, was surprised to see the workers, according to zoo spokespeople. Because of their training and experience, the zookeepers who deal with these animals on a daily basis handled the situation coolly and made it out of the yard without incident. The gorilla was observing the second staff member, so she hid behind a tree and they had a standoff. The second zookeeper is able to flee to safety behind the closed door when the first woman is hiding after the gorilla eventually showed up. The 34-year-old gorilla Elmo arrived in the Lone Star State a few years ago. Elmo went to Texas to lead the troop after being born in the Buffalo Zoo. He has been teaching his child Gus how to be an incredible silverback like him for the past several years. Elmo is now the father of a newborn daughter. Let's hear it for Elmo and the folks at the Fort Worth Zoo. Final award. This is the big one. And this was actually a Listener's Choice Award. I posted the nominees of this award on the Instagram and let you guys vote on who you thought would be the winner. This award goes to the Man-Eater Story of the Year. So this is a story that I covered. It could have been a recent story that happened or a story that happened years and years ago. But basically, in my opinion, what were the 5 best stories I told in 2024? And the nominees are Ming of Harlem, the St. James Davis chimp attack, South American anteater attacks, the USS Indianapolis shark attacks, the death of Olga Moskliova, and the Listener's Choice Award for Man-Eater Story of the Year goes to the USS Indianapolis shark attacks. Thank you to everyone who voted on that poll. I was a bit biased because I did, write all these stories and record them. But I was thrilled to see so many people vote for the USS Indianapolis shark attacks. It is one of the better episodes I think we've ever recorded. And it has a lot to do with the fact that there is so much information out there. It is a very well documented animal attack, probably in the top 10 of most documented animal attacks for sure. It was a pleasure to record that one, as was all the others. My favorite episode personally this year might have been Ming of Harlem because of how much I didn't know before that story and how much I learned. The probably for me the surprise of the year was the South American anteater attacks. When I recorded that episode, before I started doing the research, I had no idea that those animals could be responsible for the death of people, let alone so many. That's also a great story. So thank you to everybody who voted, and thank you to everyone for listening to the first annual Chompy Awards. Wow. Very nice. I've been wearing a full tuxedo this whole time. I forgot to tell you. We're going to take a quick break now, and we're going to be back with the end of the episode. We won't do a scratch of the day because we've just read about 10 news articles, but we will come back with, it's my favorite, a big old grid. Okay, go and do a wee. And we're back. Folks, you know what time it is. It's time for a lovely little grid. Hit the gritty music. So, we've had a remarkable run of luck lately. We cleared last week's grid in one turn. Over on the Patreon with the 4v4 grid, I'm pretty sure we nailed that for the first time as well. So we've been having really good luck. So we've got a new grid for you. I haven't put this one on Instagram yet, but I will run through the categories for you. So brand new grid, brand new categories. In the top row, first category we need to fill is an animal that is on the Chinese zodiac. The next animal is an animal that eats bugs as part of its main diet. And the third in the top row is an animal that is orange. Okay. The next row is an animal that has stripes, a striped animal, a man-eating animal, and an animal native to the United States of America or its waters. Third and final row, we have an animal with claws, we have an animal that has feathers, and we have an animal that is an insect or an arachnid. Okay, those are our categories. I think it's pretty much the first time with a lot of those categories, so we're gonna have to see how we go with that. Could be more difficult than I'm anticipating, but if our luck holds true like it has been over the last few weeks, we might be able to smash this out in one as well. So we have 100 animals on our wheel. Let's take it for a spin. We, as always, have 3 skips. The first animal is going to be a rabbit. Okay. I believe that rabbit is on the zodiac. I don't know if rabbits are native to the US. They're not native to Australia. I believe they're native to Europe, but I'm not sure. Let's just check if rabbit is on the Chinese zodiac, because I don't actually know. The rabbit is on the Chinese zodiac. It's the 4th animal in the 12-year cycle. So let's cross that one off. Rabbit is going in the zodiac. Good start. That is one of the ones I'm worried about. All right, next animal will be a squid. Oh, damn. Okay, squid does not eat bugs. I guess they could be orange. They do live in the US waters. They don't have claws, they don't have feathers, they don't really have stripes, they're not man-eaters, and they're not insects. We're gonna have to go orange, because I know that some of them can be orange, because I've seen one in real life that was orange. Although when I think of a squid, I think of like a nice deep blue. Puma or mountain lion could go in a few places. It could go in claws, or it could be man-eater, or it could be USA. Let us take man-eater. I think that is the right place for that to go today. I don't have strong feelings either way if we're going to win or lose. Okay, the next animal is a fox. Okay, the fox is a really good one. It is also orange, but we've taken that. Let's go claws. Foxes do have claws. We need 5 more categories. We need an animal that eats bugs. We need an animal with stripes, an animal that lives in the USA, an animal with feathers, and an insect or arachnid. The next animal on our list is the wolverine, and I'm going to write USA, because they do live in the northern part of the United States. Although I believe they are more of a kind of a Canadian animal. The next animal is a leopard. Okay. Leopards don't have stripes, they have spots. So unfortunately, we can't go there. I think that leopards do eat bugs, but I don't think that it's within the spirit of the game to write that down. They are really more into eating meat. They don't have feathers, they're not an insect. That is our first skip. Okay. Next animal will be an emu. Okay. We're going to go... Oh, we could go with 2. They eat bugs and they have feathers. Let's go with feathers. I think there's going to be more animals on here that eat bugs than have feathers. We've used emu for feathers quite a few times. The next one is a hamster. A hamster. Am I wrong in thinking that hamsters would eat bugs? Maybe that's a Google. I don't know. I think if you gave a hamster... Do hamsters eat bugs? Let me ask my new Google Watch. Let's see. I gotta unlock it first. Let's see if it talks. Do hamsters eat bugs?
According to PDSA, hamster omnivores. This means wild hamsters eat a mix of plants and insects.
That's all I needed to hear. Okay. Boom. Eats bugs. Well done. 2 skips, 2 categories left. Can we do it? We need an animal with stripes. Box jellyfish is not going to do it. It's also not an insect or an arachnid. So we have 1 skip left. This is where we're going to fall down. An animal with stripes. Come on, give me a tiger. Give me an eagle. I don't think eagles have stripes. No, I don't think they do. This is going to be our last spin. Let's see. This may be how our 2024 ends. What are we going to get? We're going to get an insect. Give me a bee. Huh? Ooh. A wasp. Huh. That's annoying because it's an insect and has stripes. But we're going to go insect. All right. Final spin. Here we go. Give me something with stripes. Give me a leopard we've had before, so we will spin that again. Come on. Give me a tiger. Come on. Are we going to go... Rhinoceros does not have stripes. That is a failure, my friends. We will be doing that grid again in a few weeks when we come back from our Christmas New Year's break. That is going to do it for this year on Man Eaters. Thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. I weirdly got a little bit emotional there, thinking that it's over. It's not over, guys. Just going to take a little bit of time off, get my ducks in order, get my eggs in line, and I'll be back in 2025 with a brand new season of Man Eaters. Season 4. Can you believe it? This show was nearly 4 years old. Absolutely wild. I want to genuinely thank everyone who has listened to the show over the last year. It's been my honor and my privilege to do a podcast that I love and to have people actually listen to it. That is a privilege that I never take for granted, and I hope I never do take for granted, to actually have an audience. As small as it may be, I do love this audience. It is quite a great community of people. I have noticed over the last few weeks a lot of people reaching out to me, sending really lovely messages, sending great feedback, good questions, valid criticism as well, but I always appreciate that, and if I ever forget to reply to you, I apologize. Feel free to send, hey, I sent you a message. I will try my best to get back to everybody. I do love talking to all of you from all over the world. I had a listener send an email in the other day saying they love the show and how lucky I am to have an audience from all around the world. Obviously, a lot of you guys live in the US and Canada, but all the way in Europe to South America, over in Africa, we have a couple of people listening. Obviously in Oceania, where I live, a lot of people listening. I never want to take for granted the fact that I have people listening to me. It is a privilege and an honor, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as you guys keep listening. 2025 is going to be a massive year for me. I can just feel it in my bones. A lot of changes happening, but I'm getting married next year. That's a big one. But I'm going to keep doing the show the way I like doing it, continuing to learn, continuing to do better, and continuing to find the most interesting animal stories I can possibly find and tell you all about them. So thank you so much for everything. As always, you can do all the social media bit. Follow us over on Instagram at JimothyChaps, at Man Eaters Podcast. We have a website, www.maneaterspod.com. You can get your merch there. And of course, the Patreon, patreon.com/maneaters. If you would love to support me and support the show for as little as $5 a month, that always is appreciated, 100%. And just so you know, we do those grids every week over there. I'll record a new one of those pretty soon. But yeah, feel free to head over there and give it a whirl. Thank you all so much. I love you. I love you lots. I very much do. And I hope you have a happy and healthy Christmas period or happy holidays, whatever you worship or believe in. I personally don't believe in much, but I do love having Christmas with my family. And also just one thing, Christmas can be a very difficult time for a lot of people. People who may have lost family or parents recently. So just a good reminder, while we have a bit of time off work, for most of us who are lucky and have a bit of time off work, maybe reach out to someone in your life that might need a cheer up or just a pat on the back, and tell them that you're thinking of them and you'd like to catch up with them during your holidays. But yeah, otherwise, I hope you have a really beautiful Christmas and New Year's. I'll see you in 2025, folks. As always, please stay safe, because as we've learned, it's a jungle out there.